and gentlemen, can you put your hands together for our Honorable Mayor, Mr. Reed Gusciora.
Thank you, Andrew, and good morning, everybody, and thanks so much for coming out. This is really an important milestone for the City of Trenton, and today I'm alongside community leaders and nationally recognized advocates for criminal justice reform. The City of Trenton is proud to formally announce the establishment of the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens. This idea started with a conversation with Tracy Syphex during my campaign for mayor. I visited Tracy at his offices on Martin Luther King Boulevard, complete with a bullet hole in his window. He emphasized that he was here to stay in Trenton and really wanted to make a difference, but for people that often fell through the cracks, people that often had no hope, people that often had no jobs and no real hope for the future. He emphasized that just because people are incarcerated, that they still have value and they still are able to contribute to society. They still need to put meals on their table. When I was in law school, I had to teach a year of law to a high school as part of my curriculum. In the first 6 months, I went to a suburban high school where many of the kids were indifferent and caught up on their sleep. The next 6 months, I taught at the State Home for Boys in Jamesburg, and I never saw so many attentive students that were really interested in finding out about the law, many because it was too late, but because they wanted to better themselves and they still had hope and aspirations for themselves. It was much more rewarding working with the juveniles who were in the detention center than in suburban students that had it all. And that's why when I did become mayor and I started the administration, I was frustrated that we couldn't hire any returning citizens. The city had a 7-year prohibition on hiring anyone who was a convicted felon. This was unfair, this was unrealistic, we discriminated against our own citizens, and it was a much more realistic thing, and with the stroke of the pen, we eliminated the 7-year prohibition. I'm happy to report that we have indeed been determined to hire returning citizens, and the program so far has been successful. But that's been on an ad hoc basis, where many returning citizens will come in, they'll talk about what they want to do, what they can do for the city, and it's not enough that we can hire enough of returning citizens where we need an office now. I'm happy to report that Lee Gordon from the Prison Ministry will be heading the office. And thank you, Lee, for taking on this effort. She'll be working with partnerships with Mercer County One-Stop Career Center, the Trenton Free Public Library, the PD Green Program, the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, Avanzar, State Parole Board, New Jersey Department of Labor, and our Office of Returning Citizens will serve as an entry point for returning citizens, and especially so they'll have that second chance. I also want to acknowledge the persons that took part in the committee and that are all here, that worked so hard in developing the program and the rules and how we're going to do that case-by-case basis for returning citizens. Is Danelle Cole here? Danelle? Lee Gordon, Jandri Harrell, Reverend John Harris, Duncan Harrison, our former esteemed councilman. And Duncan has never given up on the City of Trenton, and we value his advice, and we want him to stick in here to help us as we go forward. I see Dee Staten is also here, our former clerk and our former councilwoman. Stacy Hedden, Denise Denny Higgins, is Denise here? Dr. Dion Johnson, Tanya Johnson, Raj Manaraman, Yamiko Mishima, Wayne Richardson, thank you, Wayne. Jason Rogers, our own head of security for the city. Perry Shaw, who's the Energizer Bunny of Trenton. Tracy Syphex, Chris Terry, and Andre Williams. The city has also reached out to private industry, so where we can't hire the returning citizens, we're also going to work with our office and match them up to private employee. Corporations such as Gingoli, Home Rubber, Solterra, and others will also be working in conjunction with the City of Trenton. All of this has been done out of our abiding belief that every Trentonian deserves a second chance, and our understanding, oftentimes, residents never received a first chance. Our actions indicate that we can and we must change that fact. So I am excited for the beginning of this new office. It will be on the first floor. They're making the sign as we speak, and that we will have opportunities for all of our residents, all of our citizens, to have that second chance to be able to be employed with the City of Trenton. Thanks so much.
This young man opened his own business. You might have seen him at Calwood Park, about with 35 to 40 people doing workout programs. He got a health fitness, and he started it himself. He's going to be doing programs for the recreation department. His name is Mr. Dante Thomas.
And us as convicted felonies, we fear that question because it stops us from doing the right thing. We come home, all of us don't want to go back to the streets and sell drugs. But we have no choice. So now with the mayor and them putting together this program, it gives us an opportunity of some hope, a step in the right direction. Now when we come out, we got somebody to help us, to get a job, to give us the information, the right steps to take of a job that might hire us with having a background. Because coming out with that background on your back, we fail. We have no other choice but to go to the streets because they're going to tell us no anyway. Once you get hired, they say, oh, now the background check came back, we got to let you go. That's a disappointment. You still got to feed your family, you got kids, you got a house, you got bills like every other citizen. They say you get a second chance once you do your time, but that's not true. So what the mayor and I'm doing today is they're giving us a second chance, and I appreciate them. I thank them for this because we need it. Because when we walk out of there, we lost. Like, we want to do different, but how can we if nobody gives us an opportunity? We can't. So that put us in a position now to what we know best, to go to the streets to get the money. Me, I came home with not wanting to go to the streets, so I knew I couldn't get a job. The jobs I had got, I didn't like, I disliked them. So I quit them. I quit them for a reason because I'm not going to work somewhere I dislike. So I quit them and started my own business from nothing. Nobody handed me nothing, but I was determined not to go back to the streets. I knew I didn't want to see my mom walk through that jail cell again and see me and visit. My kids coming in there, got to be patted down just to see me. I knew I didn't want that no more. So I took the opportunity and the chance to make a difference, not just for myself, because I stand here today speaking for formerly incarcerated individuals. Because if it don't help me, it'll help them. So that's my whole thing, man, just to help the next one, because we need this. I've been formerly incarcerated, and we looking bad as we this pariah of society when we not. We just made a mistake like everybody else. Some people made mistakes, just ain't get caught for the mistakes. That's it. We just want a second chance. We want a second chance to be able to live our life like regular, productive citizens and help our community get back to where it should be. That's all we want. And we thank y'all for this opportunity, man. I hope that y'all put y'all all into this to keep helping us, because there's a lot of people come home that don't want to go back to the streets. Thank y'all.
One of his first businesses will be recreation exercises in the atrium with our well-fed City Hall staff.
Also, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of individuals have started working already in the sanitation department. When I call your names, just stand up. We have Marquise Beller. I call him 6'9". Everybody in Trenton knows him. And now he has his CDLs. So he's driving our trucks. His name is Mr. Mark Murray. I always tell people, I have a lot of people say they want a job. But at the same time period, if you really want a job, you got to put an effort, just like Dante said. You just can't get a job and then you get there and you really don't want to work. You got to really want it and making sure that you're going to look out and stay there and take care of your family. That's what this is about. But here go another gentleman that knows all about it. He knows more about this than the mayor and all of us. Y'all put your hands together for Mr. Tracy Safet.
Good afternoon. God is good. Once again, God is good? Okay. I just want to say thank you to each and every single one of you that showed up today. But I want to say a special thank you to these brothers in the front row. I want to say thank you for coming out, not just being here because you wanted a job or because you wanted to be seen, but because of the fact you were willing to bear all to everyone here. Being incarcerated is not something that we tend to share sometimes. Sometimes we tend to shy away from things like that. So thank you for that. Next, I want to say thank you to city council members, some of whom I've had conversations with about incarcerated individuals, returning citizens, giving people opportunities. People like Councilman Jarrell Blake, people like Councilwoman Mars Wilson, people like Council President Kathy McBride. But I want to say a special thank you to our mayor, Gusciora. Please give him a round of applause. Just to give you a little history about how we got here today. When our mayor was running for office back in May of 2018, one of my roles is chairman of something called the Mercer County Region Task Force. That's where we bring together social service providers, law enforcement, community members to try and figure out a pathway forward for individuals returning home from incarceration and mostly for their families. At that period of time, Reed came in, did an interview with us, and we asked him the hard questions. What are you going to do for people returning home from incarceration? How are you going to help them? Will you create an office specifically for those individuals? And blatantly he said yes. And we made sure we recorded that because we told him we're going to hold you accountable for that. That's the issue we have right now in society. People not being held accountable for their words and actions. This mayor made good on that. Almost a year later, he called myself, Tracy, Jason, and a few others into his office and said, you know what? I want to try and change things in City Hall. I want to try and look at restrictions for individuals who can be hired less than 7 years. And we made that announcement 7 years ago. From that spawned this. Bringing together entities like law enforcement, like social service providers, like citizens who are returning home from incarceration, like individuals like myself. This is important. This is social justice, whether you realize it or not. Employment is social justice. Housing for incarcerated individuals is social justice. More importantly,
Residents returning from a period of incarceration and the revision of the city hiring policies, including the establishment of an applicant review committee.